Chu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 26, The Fundamental Principles of Material Nature, Text 52. Etad andam vishekshakyam krama vivriddhay dasotarai toyadibi parivritam pradane na vritairbahi yatra lokavithanoyam Rupam Bhagavato Hari Etadandam Vishekshakyam Krama Vriddhe Dasotare Toyadibi Parivritam Pradena Vritairbahi Yatra Lokavithanoyam Rupam Bhagavato Hare Etadandam Visheshakyam Krama Vidhe Dasotare Toyadibi Parivritam Pradenena Vritairbahi Yatra Lokavithano Yam Rupam Bhagavato Hare Yataloka vitano yam So Hare Etarandam Vishakshakyam Dhamma Vittayavita Sotare Vyadibi Parivritam Pradhanena Vratairbahi Yatra loka vitano yam Rupam Bhagavato Hare. Mataji. Word for word, etad, this, andam, egg, visheshakyam, called vishesha, krama, one after another, vridai, increased, dasa, 10 times. Uttarai, greater. Toyadibihi, by water and so on. Parivritam, enveloped. Pradhanena, by pradhana. Avratai, covered. Bahihi, on the outside. Yatra, where. Lokavitanaha, the extension of the planetary systems. Ayam, this, Rupam, form, Bhagavata, of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Harehi, of Lord Hari. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Chanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation: this universal egg, or the universe in the shape of an egg, is called the manifestation of material energy. Its layers of water, air, fire, sky, ego and Mahatattva increase in thickness one after another. Each layer is 10 times bigger than the previous one. and the final outside layer is covered by Pradhana. Within this egg is the universal form of Lord Hari, of whose body the 14 planetary systems are parts. Purport is long, we'll go through it step by step. Chant Mangala Charan. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare, Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Mukum karoti vachalam bhagam vagayate giri yat kripatamaham mandeshi guruntu. Okay, so this is purport to text 52. Purport, the universe or the universal sky, which we can visualize with its innumerable planets, is shaped just like an egg. As an egg is covered by a shell, the universe is also covered by various layers. The first layer is water, the next is fire, then air, then sky, and the ultimate holding crust is Pradhana. Within this egg-like universe is the universal form of the Lord as the Virat Purusha. All the different planetary situations are parts of his body. This is already explained in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, 2nd canto. The planetary systems are considered to form different bodily parts of that universal form of the Lord. Persons who cannot directly engage in the worship of the transcendental form of the Lord are advised to think of and worship this universal form. The lowest planetary system, Patala, is considered to be the soul as in the feet, S-O-L-E, soul of the Supreme Lord, and the earth is considered to be the belly of the Lord. Brahmaloka, or the highest planetary system where Brahma lives, is considered to be the head of the Lord. We'll read the next paragraph as well. This Virat Purusha is considered an incarnation of the Lord. The original form of the Lord is Krishna, as confirmed in Brahma Samhita, Adi Purusha. The Virat Purusha is also Purusha, but he is not Adi Purusha. The Adi Purusha is Krishna, Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchit Ananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is accepted as the Adi Purusha, the original. Krishna says, "No one is greater than I." There are innumerable expansions of the Lord, and all of them are Purushas or enjoyers, but neither the Virat Purusha nor the Purusha avatars, Karandakashaya Vishnu, Garbhadakashaya Vishnu, and Kshiradakashaya Vishnu, nor any of the many other expansions is the original. Excuse me. In each universe there are Garbhadakashaya Vishnu, the Virat Purusha, and Kshiradakashaya Vishnu. The active manifestation of the Virat Purusha is described here. Persons who are in the lower grade of understanding regarding the Supreme Personality of Godhead may think of the universal form of the Lord, for that is advised in the Bhagavatam. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the glories of Nityananda Balaram, 5th chapter of Adi Lila, there it's mentioned by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami in a very extensive detail about how the material universe came to be. And this is something that's already been touched upon I believe 2 times now in Srimad Bhagavatam. How from the Lord appeared the universe. Sha aikshata, sa ashrujata. So it's mentioned that the Lord glanced and then he created. But prior to this particular personality of Godhead, Mahavishnu glancing, there is some other steps or features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead's manifesting this material world. So we know that Krishna is known as Ishvara Parama Krishna, Satchidananda Vigraha, Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. He's known as Adi Purusha, the original person. That the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Sri Krishna, he is the fountainhead of all incarnations. So it is mentioned that all incarnations simply emanate from Krishna. Just as you have a candle and one candle illuminates all other candles, So in the same way, Krishna is the original personality of Godhead, and all other Vishnu avatars appear from him. It's mentioned that Lord Balaram is Krishna. The only difference between them is that the body is different, that's all. Krishna and Balaram are so intimate that the only difference between them is the bodily features. But they are the same Supreme Personality of Godhead. That is Lord Balaram. And as mentioned by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita, confirmed by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself, and even by great acharyas such as Narottam Das Thakur, that Brajendra Nandana Ye Sachi Sutta Hoilo Se, Balaram Hoilo Nithai. That actually the son of Mother Sachi, Lord Sri Gora Hari, he is none other than the son of Nanda Maharaj, the king of Vraja, Krishna. So Lord Gora is no different from Lord Krishna. And the same goes for Balaram and Sri Nityananda Ram. And there Kaviraj Goswami continues to speak, explaining how in the spiritual world that there is Krishna and Balaram, and from Balaram comes another Chaturvyuha, comes the original Chaturvyuha, that is Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. It's mentioned that this Chaturvyuha is present within Dwarkapuri, that Lord Krishna's Dwarkadish is Vasudev, and Lord Balaram is Sankarshan, the brother of Dwarkadish, situated in Dwarkadham. And it's mentioned that the arrangement of the spiritual world is that Goloka or Sri Vrindavan Dham is like a lotus situated in the spiritual sky. It's the topmost and the most greatest planetary system. And in the spiritual sky, surrounding that particular lotus, as described by Lord Brahma in his Brahma Samhita, it's mentioned that there is somewhat of a rectangular platform or a square sort of platform in which these four Chaturvyuha exist. And it's mentioned in this realm that Dwarka, Mathura and Jagannath Puri exist as well. And below these planetary systems in the spiritual world exists the Vaikuntha Dham. This is where all the Vishnu avatars exist. And this is where the second Chaturvyuha exists. This is the second Vasudev, Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. They exist in the spiritual world in a second form. And it is this Sankarshan who is known as Mahashankarshan. He is known as Karandakashai Vishnu. In fact, in some places mentioned, from him expands the first Purusha avatar known as Mahavishnu or Karnadakashaya Vishnu. Now, to get a context, you have the spiritual world, you have the material world. It's mentioned for our understanding because if I say something is infinite, it's beyond our understanding. We are very much accustomed to that which is finite, something that which we can wrap our head around. Okay? So for us to understand something that's so great, straight off the bat, it becomes inconceivable and naturally unbelievable because we're not able to understand it. The example Prabhupada gives in this connection is that of Dr. Frog. Right? He's saying that PhD holding Dr. Frog, one day he was sitting in his well and his friend came from the Pacific Ocean. And he told Dr. Frog that just see, the Pacific Ocean is so huge. It's amazing, beyond your imagination. And so Dr. Frog asked him, so how much big is it? Is it 2 times bigger than this well? And what does the friend say? No, so much bigger. 10 times bigger than this well. No, so much bigger. And Prabhupada says, while like estimating this frog puffs up, and then suddenly it bursts and he dies. So Prabhupada uses this as an example to explain how material scientists use their senses to try and understand that which is beyond their capability of understanding. And in that way they die trying to find out the end of such knowledge without even coming to a conclusion. And they cheat themselves thinking that at least for the next generation, I've done some work so they can start from where I left off. I've done something for the next generation. My name will be there. But actually the next generation simply chews the chewed. They also kick the bucket. In other words, they die trying to attain the same understanding or the same goal of trying to understand everything with their limited senses. So in the spiritual world, it's mentioned for our understanding that it is 3/4 of the whole creation and 1/4 is the material world. So you can understand we made a mistake. We went to the wrong place. We're in the worst part of creation. Right? You'd prefer to go somewhere where there's a lot of people, a lot of enjoyment, a lot of opulence, right? Well, you chose the wrong place. You came to the material world. So it's mentioned in the spiritual world, just as in the material world we have so many planets, and then there's the whole space in between. We, according to our mundane science, we think it's empty, right? There's just globes around the whole universe, and then it's just empty. But actually there is the material elements that are present within the space. So in the same way in the spiritual world, it's mentioned that the Brahma Jyoti is what each of the planets all rest on. The Brahma Jyoti means the effulgence that emanates from Krishna's body. That effulgence or spiritual particles is what the spiritual world rests on. And that's the goal of all the impersonalists. Those who worship the Lord and they think Krishna's form as temporary, they end up in the impersonal Brahman. Because they don't want a relationship with personal Krishna, the closest they get is the effulgence of Krishna. Beyond this effulgence is a river or an ocean called the causal ocean. And then beyond this particular ocean is the material world. It's mentioned the material world does not come in contact with the causal ocean at all. Which means the causal ocean is spiritual. And this causal ocean is spiritual. A few drops of that causal ocean is what Mother Ganga is in this material world. So if you want to have an understanding of what the causal ocean is, you go and see Mother Ganga. Although through our material vision, all we simply see is mud, dirt, water, we need to understand that we are limited in our senses. Common sense has a certain limitation, right? Once I asked Jayapataka Maharaj, I was reading Life Comes from Life, and there Prabhupada's telling his disciples that to understand who the father is, the child must ask the mother, right? That's a very logical step. The child's mother will show who the father is. So if you have a look, in our current day society, we have all of this DNA testing and everything, right? What to speak of that? Take a step back. Sometimes the mother doesn't even know who the father is. So then all of the DNA testing and everything is there. So I asked Jayapataka Maharaj, so Prabhupada's saying like this, but there's DNA testing, you can just go and do a test and find out who your father is. You don't need your mother for that. And Jayapataka Maharaj, he actually laughed and he said that the test itself is not completely perfect. It's a certain percentage of similarities they go for between the DNA strands. And then he mentioned also, you'll have to go through every single person of the whole world to, get a confirmed answer that yes, this person is my father. But by the time you go through all the people of the world, people die and you have to start again. You have to try and find as many people as possible. So he was saying, this method may or may not be successful. But if you ask your mother, then it's guaranteed you'll understand who the father is. So in the same way, common sense and our material speculation has a certain limitation. But when we accept the authority of the Vedas or authority of those who are in knowledge, then it's very easy to accept or get knowledge or understanding. So in this way, it's understood that the material universe does not touch the causal ocean. And it's mentioned that, as I was saying before, this Mahavishnu or Karna Dakashayi, he's known as Karna Dakashayi. Causal in Sanskrit is known as Karna, the cause, Karna. So Karna Udaka. Udaka is ocean or body of water. Karna Dakashayi. Shayi means one who lies on. So this Karna Dakashayi Vishnu is Mahavishnu who lies on the causal ocean. You see that picture? Where is it? There. That's a picture of Mahavishnu on the causal ocean. Okay, he's lying on Anantasesh. Although in that picture it's not shown. He's lying on Anantasesh. In fact, he has his own spiritual abode. He has his own palace. He has his own servants, everyone there. This is just an understanding a particular context, but actually he has his own abode. I'll come to that later. So this is one Purusha avatar. Okay, Krishna expands himself in many ways. One of the expansion is known as amsa. It's a plenary portion or a partial portion of the Lord. It is non-different. That portion is non-different from Krishna, but it's Krishna in a manifestation of a limited form of energy, right? You know this, how Vishnu only possesses 60 qualities, Krishna possesses 64 qualities. You remember this? How Vishnu and Krishna share practically the same amount of qualities except for 4. Do you know what Krishna has that Vishnu doesn't have? This is in nectar devotion. He's always surrounded by devotees, yeah? He plays on his flute. His pastimes are very sweet. They're all eternal. Good try. Good try. You're eternal too. And his form is extremely sweet. So these 4 things trumps Vishnu. So Krishna possesses all these 4. So therefore he is Govindam Adi Purusham. He is the source of Vishnu. He is avatari, not avatar. Okay, so Krishna is the source of Vishnu. So this Purusha avatar coming through all of these different plenary portions is known as a kala or amsamsa. The amsa of the amsa, or the portion of the incarnation of Mahavishnu, of Sangshan. He is kala vishesho. He is Karnadakashaya Vishnu. From Karnadakashaya Vishnu, after we've heard, for the last few weeks, of how this material universe and so many years of Bhagavatam, you would have read how the universe forms, how the elements come into existence by the glance of Karnadakashaya Vishnu. Pradhana is the sum total of the material universe that's avyakta or unmanifest. In fact, it's mentioned Pradhana is in one sense the causal ocean. Pradhana is close to that in quality. It's spiritual. It's the closest thing to spiritual. It is only when the Lord impregnates or glances over Pradhana that it manifests its material nature. Otherwise it's inert, inactive. So when time enters in the form of the glance of the Lord and agitates, then the modes come, then the elements come, so on and so forth. Then you have the combinations and permutations you see in the material world. So we've come to the point of how the universe is formed and how the layers of the universe are like a shell of an egg. It forms different layers after layer after layer. And we'll read that again in the next, there's 2 more paragraphs here, we'll go through that again. But when that egg is formed, then Karnadakashaya Vishnu enters that egg, because the egg becomes inert again. It's just matter. Nothing happens in there. So then Garbhadakashaya Vishnu, so the expansion or a avatar of Karnadakashaya Vishnu or the Mahavishnu on the causal ocean enters into each individual universe and lies on the Garbha Udaka, the ocean within the material world known as Garbha. And he lies there and manifests Lord Brahma from his navel. The whole planetary systems come like the lotus. It's mentioned that the subtle or the manifestation of the Lord as the super soul of the universe is not just as Garbhadakashaya Vishnu lying on the ocean, but the Virat Rupa. The Virat Rupa is known as the super soul of the universe. It is a form of the Lord that's covered materially so that the impersonalists or those who are less intelligent can worship the Lord and come to personalism. We read that in the 2nd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the first chapter. Does anyone remember what the first chapter's title is? I already let go half of it. The first step in self-realization. First chapter, 2nd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Literally, this is Shukadeva Goswami speaking the first words of Srimad Bhagavatam. And what does he begin with? He begins with chastising all the materialists. And then Parikshit Maharaj begs Sukadeva Goswami, so what should they meditate on? How should they come to Krishna consciousness? And so he gives this understanding or meditation of the Virat Purusha. Right? How the clouds are his hair, how the different planetary systems represent different parts of his body. Like Patal, the lowest planetary system, is the soul or the portion under the feet. Then you have The earthly planet system, our Martya Loka where we live, that's the belly of the Lord. Then you have the head of the Lord, which is Satya Loka or Brahma Loka, where Lord Brahma lives. His hairs on his body are considered to be the trees and the herbs, right? All his veins are like the rivers. And this way one is able to perceive the Lord as a person through the material nature. A more primitive, beginner level understanding of this is like Prabhupada explains actually in the purports there. The indigenous people who don't have much knowledge of self-realization, they will understand suddenly, there'll be thunder and lightning, then they'll say this is the greatness of God. Right? They'll just see thunder and lightning, but they'll understand this is the greatness of the Creator. Right? That is the primitive version of understanding the Virat Purusha. So gradually one comes to Virat Purusha, understanding of the Lord as a form, as a person, and gradually one comes to the platform of bhakti. Because one understands the form, so there has to be some sort of reciprocation, some sort of understanding of what the form is, who he is. And naturally one understands from Virat Purusha, one comes to understanding the Satchidananda Vigraha. Okay? But the Virat Purusha is not a permanent form of the Lord, it's temporary. Because when destruction happens, the Virat Purusha unmanifests. Everything becomes back to its original state of just the elements. Okay? So this is the slight difference between Adi Purusha and Virat Purusha. Then after Garbhodakashaya enters into the universe, and you read about this in the later part of this chapter, he enters into the atoms of the whole universe and all of the hearts of the living beings as Kshiradakashaya Vishnu. Shira means milk. He lies on the milk ocean. Within this material world, there's a Vaikunta planet, which is also known as Goloka or Sweta Dvipa. And that place, Kshiradakashaya Vishnu lies. And that's where all the, in the beginning of Krishna book, you hear about Brahma and all the demigods going to the ocean of milk and praying to Lord Vishnu, please appear and help us. That Kshiradakashaya Vishnu is like a portal in which all the avatars enter into the material world. Right? Anyway, so that Kshiradakashaya Vishnu is the super soul of all individual living entities. And why he entered into the hearts of all living entities is so that they can remember their activities. Right? The whole reason we're here is so we can enjoy. But we forget very easily. So Krishna reminds us, Sarvasya Chaham Hridhi Sanivishto. He is within the heart. Mattas mitir jnanam apohanam cha. From him comes knowledge, remembrance and forgetfulness. Okay? So that's Kshiradakashaya Vishnu. It's mentioned these three Purusha avatars, Karnadakashaya Vishnu, Garbhodakashaya Vishnu and Kshiradakashaya Vishnu, they are the super souls of three different ways. Of the whole material cosmic manifestation, the super soul is Karnadakashaya Vishnu. The super soul of each individual anda or egg-like structure of the universe is Garbhodakashaya Vishnu. And then of each individual living entities and atoms within the universe, who is the super soul? Kshiradakashaya Vishnu. So these are the three super souls that exist. They are known as the Purusha avatars. Avatar means incarnation. They descend from a higher platform to a lower platform. Right? They manifest their pastimes in this way. So when you find out how does Krishna interact with the spiritual energy, you can understand all of the Nitya Lila of the Lord. How does Krishna manifest his activities with his external energy? This is the Purusha avatars. Then you have the Guna avatars, another manifestation of Krishna interacting with the modes of nature. But that will come to later. So these are the Purusha avatars, and this is what Prabhupada is emphasizing. These are Amsam Samsa Amsa, Kshiradakashaya Vishnu. And you read, I think it's text 7, 8, 9, maybe even 10 of first chapter of Adi Lila. They're glorifying Nityananda Ram. And if you keep reading those verses, you see Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami, he says Amsa, then he says Samsa, next verse, then he says Samsa. And he continues to mention that to explain how a portion of a portion of a portion is Kshiradakashaya Vishnu. He's so powerful that he's the super soul of every living entity. He can remember everything. He makes you forget everything. He gives knowledge. It's because of him everything is maintained in this material. Andantarastam paramanu chayantarastam. Lord Brahma prays that he's in every atom, and because he's in every atom, everything has its qualities. This hardness comes from Kshiradakashaya Vishnu. He is the origin of hardness. This sound vibration, he is the origin. And he is simply a portion of a plenary portion, of a plenary portion, of a plenary portion, of a plenary portion of Lord Balaram. And Balaram is an expansion, or the first expansion of Lord Krishna. He is non-different to Krishna, but he's an expansion. This is the glories of Nityananda Balaram, this is the glories of Sri Krishna. Therefore Krishna is known as Adi Purusha. Because from Krishna comes Balaram. From Balaram comes the first Chaturvyuha. They exist within Dwarka Dham. As Dwarkadesh, as Sankarshan, Pradyumna and Aniruddha. Pradyumna is the son of Vasudev, and the son of Pradyumna is Aniruddha. That's how they exist. In Ayodhya Dham, they exist as brothers. Right? Lord Ram, Lakshman, Shatrughna and Bharat. The four Chaturvyuha exist in that way. So, then in the Vaikuntha plans, they exist in four corners as Vasudev, Sankarshan, Aniruddha and Pradyumna again. From that Sankarshan comes Karnadakashaya Vishnu. From that Karnadakashaya Vishnu, then the other two Purusha avatars. So you understand the position of Lord Balaram. He is the source of all these incarnations. And who is the source of Lord Balaram? Krishna. Anadir Adir Govinda Sarva Karana Karanam. This is Krishna, and this is what Prabhupada is mentioning here. And how did we come to this? We came to this because Prabhupada is explaining, to come to this understanding of Krishna as Sarva Karana Karanam, some people just don't get it. They are unable to just put it together. It's just not possible for them to understand. They've just become so dull-headed, not possible. Actually, this is our category. In this day and age, we weren't supposed to get self-realization. No knowledge of self-realization. But it's the causeless mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that we're getting this mercy. Right? This Yuga Dharma is simply a side product of Mahaprabhu coming to this material world. That happens. Yuga Dharma happens. But he came to give love of Godhead one step further. He came to taste and relish the internal, of course, there's the internal reasons of Mahaprabhu's descent. We can speak about that another time. But he came to relish the love Srimati Radharani has for him. And he came to teach that to others by example. Because he says in Bhagavad Gita, right? Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam braja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha yishyami masuchaha. Radhesham Prabhu was mentioning actually, this is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. If you want anyone to understand conclusion of Bhagavad Gita, anyone who's sane and read Bhagavad Gita, they'll come to this conclusion. Krishna says, surrender unto me. Once Radhesham Prabhu said he met one person, and he said, this person was like, wow, this Bhagavad Gita is so good, you know. It's amazing. It's such a wonderful text. And Radhesham Prabhu said, yeah, you're right. So what have you learned? What is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita? He said, Bhagavad Gita is so great. You know the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita is yatechasi tatakuru. You do whatever you like. That is the conclusion of Bhagavad Gita. So you see, so many people have so much misunderstanding of Bhagavad Gita. Yatechasi tatakuru. You do whatever you like. That is what Krishna is telling Arjuna in the end. Right? But they won't read anything else. Like Arjuna is saying that Karishe Vachanam Tava. They'll understand Karishe Vachanam Mama. Whatever I say, I will do. That's it. This is the unfortunate, misfortunate position of living entities. Right? But Krishna says, Sarva Dhanman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Raja. He descended to teach that. But what happened? Everyone thought, who does he think he is? Who is he? Why should I listen to him? So then he is in dilemma now. Krishna is in dilemma. I descended to bring them all back to me. Some came, most are stubborn. As Prabhupada says, stubborn doggies. They're not willing to come back. So what does Krishna do? He's known as Kavi. He's expert. Why is he expert? I'm not saying the right one. What is it? Kavi is expert, right? Daksha, sorry. In Nectar Devotion, one who is Daksha means one who is able to do many things with one action. He's able to satisfy so many conditions with just one simple action. So when Mahaprabhu descends, there's so much to understand. He satisfied so many things just simply by his descent. He satisfied Haridas Thakur's pleas. He satisfied Advaita Acharya's pleas to appear in the material world. He performed the Yuga Dharma. He wanted to enjoy or understand what is it that Srimati Radharani is tasting with him. Radha Krishna Pranaya Vrikati Ahladani Shakti Rasmat. He wanted to understand. So he appears in the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Srimati Radharani. He came to teach the living entities how to practice devotional service. Because we're pathetic, right? We saw the Supreme Personality of Godhead on just another ordinary being. It's okay, let us continue with our life. So he came to teach, I am devotee, you follow what I am doing. At least simply follow what I am saying. You'll go back to Godhead. So Mahaprabhu appears in that way. So you can see in this day and age, we're so lucky to have this self-realization. But there are people who are so unfortunate. So I was going through the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, the purports. And there's a few points or themes I'll just quickly touch on, and then we'll go to speaking about Gadadhar Pandit's appearance day today. Appearance, right, Prabhu? Yeah. So here, I'll touch on this, read the purport, and then we'll end with Gadadhar Pandit's glories. So Prabhupada says that, unfortunately, because people are materially absorbed, to clean the mind, because Krishna says, does anyone know a correlating verse that one who's sinful cannot understand Krishna? Loudly. Tesham yesham tvantagadam papam jananam punya karmanam te dhanda mohanir mukto bhajante dvam didavata. Good. Sadhu. Translation. Can you? Okay, good paraphrasing, yes. So here Krishna is saying that those who are yesham tvantagatam papam, those who are papis, they won't be able to understand him at all. What does papi mean? Papi means dirty, right? Dirty means like, mud and things. You take shower, then you'll understand Krishna. No, what does dirty mean? Dirty means the contamination of the consciousness. The dirty things in the heart, we say, right? All those things that prevent us from seeing Krishna as he is. What are those things? The 6 enemies. Lust, greed, anger. Oh wow, we're getting everything from here. I don't have to search. Okay, let's go. That's it. Oh, he let us down. Next. Envy, illusion. Come on, the last one's very easy. Madness. Right? Madness. We see that all around. You just take a step outside, it's madness. Yeah? So these 6 things, they corrupt the soul. They're known as, if you read the 5th canto, I love how Sukadeva Goswami explains, or rather, Jadabharat, he explains to Rahuguna, they're like thieves, they're plunderers. You're just walking along on your way and they simply come and attack you and take your goods. What is it? They take away your consciousness, your time, your energy, everything. Gone. So these things contaminate the mind. They contaminate our consciousness. We need to give them up by performing devotional service. This is the pious activities mentioned in that verse. So to cleanse the materially absorbed mind, for them, the Virat Rupa is manifested. This meditation is given. Because otherwise it's impossible for them to concentrate on the absolute truth. Otherwise. It's practically, like I said, right? There are some indigenous people who will just simply see the lightning and, wow, that's the Supreme, like that. Sometimes we even see impersonalists nowadays say, I am that, right? So then they'll see, earthquake. From that sudden manifestation, see the power of nature, see the power of the Supreme, like that. Then they gradually come closer and closer to understanding of something exists there, right? So the Virat Purusha is somewhat similar to that concept. Another way of seeing is those who are so stubborn, they say, I want to see the Lord, show me the Lord. There's God, show me God. So then you show them the Virat Purusha. Prabhupada says, for those who want to see with their eyes at once, immediately they want to see the Lord, show them the Virat Purusha. Explain to them the Virat Purusha. And this Virat Purusha is not only explained in the 2nd canto of Bhagavatam, where else is it explained or shown? You don't remember? Virat Purusha is shown somewhere else. Virat Rupa, it's called there. In the Gita. The reason why Krishna is shown or Arjuna is shown, Prabhupada says, he or Lord Krishna, by the request of Arjuna, manifested or exhibited his Virat Rupa for the Asuras. Specifically for the Asuras, to show that I am God. And to tell them that it's a challenge to the atheists, that God, who said God doesn't exist. And second, it's a favor for the Asuras. You can remember this. Why does Krishna manifest his Virat form? Of course, under the request of Arjuna. But what's Arjuna's main point? Krishna manifests Virat Purusha to challenge the atheists and to favor the Asuras. How does he challenge them? Here I am, the Supreme Being. Can you do what I'm doing? Right? And for the favor to the Asuras. So they come closer and closer to understanding Him and accepting Him. Because unfortunately for them, Vitaraga Bhaya Krodha, Manmaya Mam Upashataha, Bahava Jnana Tapasaha, Puta Madbhavang Agataha. There it's mentioned Vitaraga, Bhaya, Raga, Bhaya and Krodha. These are the three things that prevent people from accepting the Supreme. Bhaya, or with Raga, attachment to the material body. Bhaya, fear of personalism. Because you get so much put down and let down in the material world, right, in relationships, so they don't want relationships. And Krodha, that comes anger, that rises from, or arises due to following a cheating process of self-realization, not having the proper knowledge. They feel cheated. So these three things prevent people from accepting the path of Krishna consciousness, accepting Krishna as a person. So, for them, the favor of such people who are atheists and asuras, Krishna manifests the Virat Purusha. Then Prabhupada again mentions another purport. It's a lesson to the foolish man. What is the lesson? That if you don't accept anyone as incarnation or as Krishna unless they manifest Virat Purusha, the Virat form. Okay? Very common thing Prabhupada says in so many places. Then you have rascals that go around and say that you cannot see unless I give you the eyes to see. Right? You'll see all the rascals that go around to do that. And that's just simply a cover-up because they don't want to, embarrass themselves in front of the whole world, showing how much of a fake they are. But they should be able to manifest. And what is the proof of that? Do you remember when Krishna went as the messenger of the Pandavas to the court of the Kurus? Duryodhana saw Krishna as the Virat Purusha. Of course, a downgraded version, not the full one, but he saw Krishna's universal form. And what did Duryodhana think immediately? Wow, he is the Supreme. We should worship him. No. What did he think? He thought it was a trick, but he thought that, he told his soldiers, go get this rascal Krishna. Yeah, get this rascal. Chastise him. Who does he think he is? He got scared. So he sent his soldiers to go and arrest Krishna. So he offended Krishna in that way. So even after seeing, right, what is the hope? So Prabhupada then further emphasizes, main thing here is to cultivate a service attitude. Then only this will have this meditation on the Virat Roop will have some effect. And where does the service attitude come from? What is the core essence? Humility, submissiveness. That's the core essence of service attitude. Service doesn't mean you do something on the side. Service means you put your whole heart into it. It's nothing for yourself, all for the goal, the mission, the other person. That is service. Radha Maharaj takes it a step further. When you do it not for your own benefit and without ego, that is known as seva, service. Because you can clean the bathroom. You can clean the public toilets, but you can be proud. Just see, I'm a great cleaner. And all these devotees, oh Prabhu, you're cleaning Mataji, you're cleaning the bathroom, you're so great. Yeah. It's menial service, I'm progressing. But you can develop pride, humble pride that way. But the real mood is that I've, neglected Krishna's service so long. I don't even deserve this service. But He's given me something little, let me try. All these people are just seeing the good qualities of Krishna because they're just like Lord Jagannath. They simply see the good qualities and neglect the bad qualities. But I am an ocean of bad qualities and Krishna has given me some little service reciprocation. So our mood should be like that. So to cultivate a service attitude, that's the main goal of those who want to progress anyway in any spiritual realization or path. So this is the Virat Purusha, or some of the points from the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in terms of the Virat Roop and understanding of the Supreme Lord through this Virat Roop. So we'll finish this purport. This is the third paragraph. The dimensions of the universe are estimated here. The outer covering is made of layers of water, air, fire, sky, ego and Mahatattva, and each layer is 10 times greater than the previous one. This is where it gets far out. This is where it becomes inconceivable. The space within the hollow of the universe cannot be measured by any human scientist or anyone else. And beyond the hollow there are 7 coverings, each one 10 times greater than the one preceding it. The layer of water is 10 times greater than the diameter of the universe. We don't even know how big this universe is with our material senses. We just see, oh, it's so big. 10 times that is the layer of water, Prabhupada saying. Then the layer of fire is 10 times greater than that of water. Similarly, the layer of air is 10 times greater than that of fire. These dimensions are all inconceivable to the tiny brain of a human being. So those who are endeavoring for self-realization on their own strength, just see how much they have to travel to escape this material world. Extremely difficult. It's like a cage. This material world is a cage. You don't see the bars in this prison, but it's there. It's the most successful prison, because even though there's no such security, there's no bars, there's no difficulties, still people are stuck here. They don't want to get out. This is Maya. This is the nature of material existence, the kingdom of the illusory energy. Right? So we cannot even conceive of how big these layers are. And it's mentioned in Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Brihad Bhagavatamrita, that in each layer there are living entities. And along with those living entities, there's a predominating deity there that they worship of the Supreme Lord. So within the covering of the universe, in the earth layer, it's not just like this thick packed earth layer, and there's some guy stuck there, worshipping the Supreme Lord. No, there's form, there's kingdom, there's things that exist there. Just like in the sun planet, just because we see, it's a ball of fire, there's nothing exists. No, there's palaces, there's living entities, there's activities, everything exists there. Similarly, in these layers, activities exist there as well. It is these layers that Krishna and Arjuna is passed through to see Mahavishnu. Do you remember that? This is another example of how Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. That Karnadakashaya Vishnu stole the children of Brahmanas that existed within Dwarka just to get the attention of Krishna. Because he wanted to take darshan of Krishna. Although he's an expansion, he doesn't have the authority to go up to Krishna and say, hey, what's up? He still has to go through such lengths to be able to take darshan of Krishna. That too, Krishna says to Arjuna at the end of the pastime, I didn't go to the Karnataka, I didn't go to the causal ocean, the abode of Mahavishnu for him. I went because of you, Arjuna, so that you don't foolishly jump into the fire. You know that story, right? How, okay, I have to be quick. How in Dwarka at one particular point in time, a Brahmana had lost many children as soon as they were born. And it's mentioned that the Vedic civilization was so regulated that when the king was of proper stature and standard, water would come at the proper time. Heat wouldn't be too much excessive. People who live proper lives, the father would not see death of the son during his lifetime. In other words, he would die before his son. All of these things that would normally occur happened in the Vedic civilization, and it was all due to the strength of the administrative class, the strength of their devotional service, of course, of their religious practices. So this Brahmana comes with the dead body of his child in his hand, and he tells King Ugrasena, what's happening? What's happening with you Kshatriyas? What are you doing here? What's the purpose of your administration? It's because you guys have become so attached to wealth. You become neglectful of the religious principles that we have to suffer. It's because of you my child has died. You reckon you can go and tell that to the Prime Minister? Right? What to speak of that? They're so horrible they perform abortion. You reckon they'd go and tell, because of you I'm committing this act of killing my child? No one will accept it, right? But in Vedic culture, this is the responsibility of the ruling class. Yeah, they enjoyed. Yeah, they had great opulence. Yeah, they may have many wives. But just see the greatness of their responsibility. That if anything happened in the kingdom, they were directly responsible. They had to take responsibility. There was no way around it. So 9 times this Brahmana comes like that. And Ugrasena didn't do anything. The Yadavas didn't do anything. Krishna Balaram didn't do anything. Then Arjuna was there in the 9th time. And Arjuna subtly chastises them. Anyway, this is detail, you have to read the pastime. Arjuna then takes a step forward and tells the Brahmana, I'll protect your children. And then the Brahmana says, who are you? You see Vasudev, Sankarshan, all of them are here. Who do you think you are? No, I am Arjuna, the holder of the Gandiva bow. I have defeated Lord Shiva. So then, the Brahmana thinks, okay, yeah, all right, he's defeated Lord Shiva. He has a chance. So he brings him home. He then tells that I call upon you. So then when the 10th child is about to be born, then Arjuna, he calls Arjuna there, and Arjuna, on the way there, Arjuna doesn't think of Krishna. Who does he think of? Lord Shiva. Because he's chanting all the mantras to get the Pashupati Astra. The weapon of Lord Shiva, they're ready to kill anyone that comes. Anyway, the child disappears. Then Arjuna gets upset, and this guy says, the Brahmana thinks I'm so foolish, I trusted a eunuch like Arjuna like this. He chastises and berates him. Then Arjuna goes to all planetary systems, cannot find the children. Then he says, okay, I have to enter fire because that's my promise. He said, I will protect your child. If I can't do it, I'll enter fire. So as he's about to commit suicide like this, then Krishna stops, hey, stop, come with me, sit on my chariot. And they go through all of these 10 layers of the planetary system. First they cross over Jambudvip. Then they cross over Loka mountain, which is the mountain range at the edge of Bhumandala. Then they get into this place which is completely dark, no light. By nature, material existence is dark. But because of the sun, there's some light, a particle of the Brahma Jyoti. Anyway, they go across the 10 layers, reach Mahavishnu. Then Krishna acting as Krishna. Krishna acting as Krishna, as a cowherd boy who's assumed the position of a king in Dwarka. He pays respect as part of his lila to Mahavishnu. Arjuna, seeing, completely shocked, follows what Krishna does. But the whole reason Mahavishnu had done all of these things. He's known as Namo Brahmana Devaya. He is the Deva, the protector of the Brahmanas, but see what he did to the Brahmana. He went to such length to cause such distress to be able to see Krishna. That was the extent of his desire to see his source, his avatar. He's non-different from Krishna, but the avatars want to worship Krishna in that way. This is Krishna's position, And so this is how we came to understanding of the layers. This is the last paragraph. It is also stated that this description is of only one egg-like universe. There are innumerable universes besides this one, and some of them are many, many times greater. It is considered in fact that this universe is the smallest. Therefore the predominating superintendent or Brahma has only 4 heads for management. In other universes there are which are far greater than this one, Brahma has more heads. In Chaitanya Charitamrita it is stated that all these Brahmas were called one day by Lord Krishna on the inquiry of the small Brahma, who after seeing all the larger Brahmanas was thunderstruck. That is the inconceivable potency of the Lord. No one can measure the length and breadth of God by speculation or by false identification with God. These attempts are symptoms of lunacy, madness. So this is the purport. Of course, there's so much more to explain. This last paragraph is, you can talk about how Brahma Vimohana Lila, you can talk about how Brahma met Krishna in Dwarka. Prabhupada says actually that the prayers of Lord Brahma in Brahma Vimohana Lila are meant specifically for those who become puffed up and proud because of having some position of leadership. Because Brahma, that one sense like a stereotype, that position Brahma is in, that's like, and how he goes through all of the difficulties and finally accepts how he's insignificant in comparison to Krishna, that is an example of how one comes to their senses after being puffed up. So all these prayers are meant for those puffed up materialists, Brahmana Vimohana. So we could have gone through there, but time is against us. And the essence is, again, of Brahma Vimohana Lila is the service attitude. Atapite deva padam puja dvaya prasad leshanu grihita evahi janati tatvan bhagavan mahimno. There Lord Brahma is saying, no one can understand you, not even all these material scientists, but one who's got prasadanu lesha, one who's got just a portion of your mercy can immediately understand you. And how does one get that portion? By the service attitude. That how, just simply by worshipping the Virat Rupa, they're taking one step towards Krishna, right? Krishna will reciprocate with them unlimitedly if they have the right consciousness. So what to speak of Bhakti Yoga? What to speak of our position? Prabhupada is so kind to give us. So that's all the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And one of the great associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is Gadadhar Pandit. And today is his appearance day. And it's mentioned that Gadadhar Pandit, during the pastimes of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadvip, and most of the pastimes in Jagannath Puri, Gadadhar Pandit would never leave the side of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Panchatattvatmikam Krishna Bhakta Rupa Surupakam Bhaktavatara Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakti Shaktikam. That Bhakti Shakti, that is Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Of the Panchatattva, to Mahaprabhu's left is Gadadhar Pandit. It's mentioned by great acharyas that Gadadhar Pandit is whatever is left over of Krishna plundering Radha Bhava. So after Krishna assumes the form of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by taking on the bhava of Srimati Radharani, whatever is left over that he has taken from Srimati Radharani, she, out of her desire to serve him, appears as Sri Gadadhar Pandit. Now, of course, understanding this a bit further than this is for those who are of Uttamadhikari platform. Worship of Gadai Gora or Gaur Gadadhar is a very intricate matter. In fact, it's mentioned that we should not enter it so cheaply, because this will lead way to the understanding of the Sahajiyas, or who are also known as Gauranga Nagaris. They think that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu they worship him as Krishna, and they put Mahaprabhu as the enjoyer of the Rasalila, and they themselves dress as gopis and worship Mahaprabhu like that. And this is completely condemned, because Mahaprabhu descended to taste what Srimati Radharani is tasting in serving Krishna. In other words, he appears as a devotee of the Lord. And to worship him on the same platform as Krishna is in one sense offense against him, because it's going against his desire. Therefore in Chaitanya Charitamrita you'll read how Swarup Damodar and Ramananda Roy, they sang songs, they arranged situations for Mahaprabhu to remember Krishna, not to remember that he is Krishna, to help him remember his love for Krishna, so that Krishna in the form of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu can taste the limits or the ecstasies of Srimati Radharani as the absolute enjoyer. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that when Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, he appears as Krishna. But when he wants to taste what it's like to enjoy himself, enjoy the rasa of serving himself, he appears as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's very simple to understand and very difficult to comprehend at the same time. It requires a great mercy of the previous acharyas. So it is this Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that has appeared with his personal associate Sri Gadadhar Pandit. It's mentioned Gadadhar Pandit would never leave the side of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Never. He would always be with Mahaprabhu. It's mentioned that at one time when Mahaprabhu had finally taken initiation from Sri Ishwara Puri, it's mentioned that at that time he went mad in ecstasy and started asking everyone, where is Krishna, where is Krishna, where is Krishna? And Gadadhar Pandit told him, Krishna is within your heart. And when Mahaprabhu heard this, he immediately started to go and try and rip his heart to find Krishna. Like Hanuman, right? When they asked, when Hanuman wanted to show what is in the deep core of his heart, what did he show? Sitaram. Right? So in the same way, Mahaprabhu wanted to see Krishna within his heart. And Gadadhar Pandit stopped him. Gadadhar Pandit stopped him and said that actually, my Lord, Krishna, he's coming just now. Just wait, he's going to appear. And when Sachimata heard this, she immediately blessed Sri Gadadhar Pandit and said, because of you, you intelligent boy, you have saved my son. So now I request you to always be with my son, to always take care of him. So the mood of Gadadhar Pandit is of that of submissive, passive servitorship. No matter what Mahaprabhu says, Gadadhar Pandit accepts. Of course, there are other pastimes of how Gadadhar Pandit accepted Pundarik Vijayanidhi as his spiritual master. That's one pastime there. Another pastime is of how he took Kshetra Sannyas in Jagannath Puri just to serve Mahaprabhu, and how he served Tota Gopinath. His service to Tota Gopinath was so great that his elderly age is mentioned that he could not stand up to put the garland on the Lord. So the Lord himself kneeled down. So now when you go to the shores of Jagannath Puri, in the temple of Tota Gopinath, you'll see the Lord is kneeling down, waiting because he wanted to accept Gadadhar Pandit's service. Another most important quality of Gadadhar Pandit was his ability to relish the ecstasies of Srimad Bhagavatam. So therefore we always pray to Gadadhar Pandit, you are you are relishing an ocean of love of Godhead by tasting Srimad Bhagavatam. So please give me a particle or a drop of that taste for reading Srimad Bhagavatam. We can pray to Gadadhar Pandit for that. It's mentioned Gadadhar Pandit was so absorbed in reading Srimad Bhagavatam. Every single day, Advaita Acharya, Nityananda Prabhu, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, they would all go and hear Srimad Bhagavatam class from Gadadhar Pandit. To the extent that when Mahaprabhu left and Gadadhar Pandit was left in this world, Narottama Das Thakur, Srinivasacharya, Shyamananda Pandit, I believe it's Srinivasacharya, he got a chance to go and see Gadadhar Pandit. Or was it Narottama Das? No, Srinivasacharya. He got to see. And it's mentioned that when he went to Puri and saw Gadadhar Pandit at his elderly age, he asked him to learn Srimad Bhagavatam. But unfortunately, because of ecstasy, Gadadhar Pandit would always shed tears. So all the Bhagavatam became smudged. So he said, I need another set. Go to Vrindavan and get a new print, go to Bengal, get a new printed set and come back. By the time Srinivasacharya came, Gadadhar Pandit had left the world. So in that lamentation he went to Vrindavan Dham and he took tutelage under Jiva Goswami. But that's the ecstasy of Gadadhar Pandit, that he would just simply read Srimad Bhagavatam in great ecstasy. So I'll end here, it's actually quite late. So today is the appearance day of Gadadhar Pandit. We can take a lot of mercy from this great personality. It's mentioned just by remembering the associates of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can get love of God. So we should not take it cheaply. If you go to vaishnavacalendar.info, you can read a lot more about Gadadhar Pandit. Chaitanya Charitamrita is there also. So this is the end of the class. It's late, so I'll have to end here. I won't accept any questions. Thank you very much. Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri Shri Radha Gopinath Bhagavan ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Nithai Gaur Premanande. Hari Hari Bol.